Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Member Clerk, please take roll call.
Member Corcoran? Here. Member Corcoran is here. Member Ketto?
Here.
Member Ketto is here. Member Olson? Here. Member Olson is here. Member Rayfield?
Here.
Member Rayfield is here. Member Tyson? Member Tyson?
Here.
Member Tyson is here. Member Peterson?
Here.
Member Peterson is here. Member Luther is here. All present.
Thank you, Member Clerk. With that, I would entertain a motion to approve tonight's meeting agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving on, scheduled, unscheduled visitors, listening session. Member Kettle?
We had a total of 12 people that attended. At first, everybody that checked in for the listening session actually checked in as listening, so it brought up an interesting twist to the meeting because if everybody's listening, who's speaking? But gradually each speaker got up and did speak, and we had a number of topics as we have every meeting, and I guess I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Member Kettle. We'll move on to student achievement, student report, Principal Caldwell.
Mr. Chair, members of the school board, Dr. Massey, thank you again for inviting us to showcase another one of our student groups. Tonight we have our FFA here led by Ms. Ann Hazel and Mr. Bob Park. One thing that you may not know is we're adding a middle school chapter. Middle school chapter of the FFA, which is super exciting. It is one of our groups that continues to grow. With that, I'm going to invite Ann and Mr. Park up to introduce our speakers and get us rolling. You get it, Claire.
So fancy. Thank you so much for having us here today. We're going to talk a little bit about our community involvement. As you know, this past year it's been difficult to be involved in the community, but we really take pride in our involvement in the community. And one of the changes that have happened for us in the last year is we received this ALDTS grant, which is a 4-year grant that has provided funding for every single student who takes an agriculture class to be an FFA member. Where in the past there was $12 dues that students would have to pay to be involved. So it's really opened up doors for students who maybe haven't been involved in the past. Maybe that $12 fee was a barrier to them, and so we're noticing a lot more opportunities for students. They are able to participate in all of our events, and that's really resulted in record attendance at our chapter activities. And our 2 officers who are here with us tonight, Jill and Hannah, are going to share a little bit more about what we've been up to. Let's see. There we go. Oh wait, Bob's first. My bad. Sorry, Bob.
No problem. All right, so I'm here to talk about middle school. So I teach at both the high school and the middle school. And we are, like was said, we're expanding quite a bit. And with that expansion allows us to bring teams from the middle school as well as the high school so that those middle school students aren't competing against the high school students for spots on the team. So it gives them a great opportunity to give it a try, see what it's like, and then be able to compound that, make it get better as they get into high school, and then hopefully open it up for them to check out the stuff. So the pictures up there are some of the big events that have happened so far, and we just expect to expand those and then give those students in the middle school a chance for some leadership roles as well in the middle school so that they can get up to the high school and become officers as well. All right, I think that's a good chance.
We help put on the Veterans Day ceremony at the high school to honor the people who served and have died serving for our country. It is on the 11th, and I'm speaking there, and I would really like to see all of you come. It'd be super fun. So
Every year, the FFA does activities to grow leadership skills and help the community. One of the most memorable and well-known activities we do in the high school would be the food and toy drive as seen in these photos. The FFA collaborates with student council at the high school to plan this fundraiser, where we collect both non-perishable food items and toys for children. The food and toy drive this year started on the 29th of this month until the 10th of December. Part of the reason we do it at this time is because we donate the toys to Anonymous Santa for the holiday season, and we donate the food to Family Pathways, the local food shelf. Last year, despite COVID complications, we had the food and toy drive. It wasn't one of the most successful years, but we did collect 120 food items, 250 toys, and we raised $300. The money we raised that year was used in a few different ways. We shared some with the student council, and they donated it to a charity of their choice. And we also connected with the school, and we helped out some fellow students who were in need at the time. And then we put the rest of the funds towards Family Pathways as well. And that was decided on between the officer team of who we put the funds towards.
At the county fair, we partner with the Stillwater FFA to host the Children's Barnyard. At the Children's Barnyard, FFA members can bring in their animals to help share with all the other people that are passing by, where we can share information about the animals and kind of connect it to how we get our food and stuff like that. And we also partner with the Washington County American Dairy Association to serve malts at the fair. The funds we get from there help support our FFA scholarships. Mr. Pollock has gotten a grant to get a cistern and plant it in the ground, bury it, so it can collect rainwater. So we can. Our future goal is to build gardens there that we can grow crops to donate to the food shelves.
So last year during COVID, it was really hard to really connect with students, but I believe that FFA really did do our part in still connecting with students. The officers, we did have meetings every week just to try to plan, and we came up with the idea of doing online meetings, and we ended up having one of the biggest ones we did have. We had our Cocos and Crafts. We made grab bags, and we had students come at their convenience to the high school, and they picked up these grab bags, and then a little over a week later, we had them all log on, the members, officers, and advisors, and we all got on. We drank cocoa, we did crafts, and we did some bird feeders. It was all a lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun to have something during COVID with FFA, and where we got all our members, advisors, and officers all together. And then over the summer as well, once we got like less restrictions on things, we went to Bunker Beach, and we did have quite a bit of people show up, and we all just kind of decided to get together in the summer and have some fun. And we just had some members, and we had family members of the members come, and we all just had a good time at Bunker Beach. It was a lot of fun just to see people again and connect with them and over the summer. So. And then just last week we had our annual pumpkin carving. We had, I would say, around 50 members join. There was even, in this picture, we have a lot of students all in the classroom. We also had people in our middle room, so we ended up running out of room because we had such a high attendance. We had the pumpkins donated to us by a gentleman named Vince. He lives out in Hugo. He donated the pumpkins, and we had snacks there. It was the most people I think we've had in pumpkin carving in a long time, and I've done pumpkin carving for the past 3 years, and it was a lot of people, and it was a lot of fun. And it's really nice to see that people are coming out again and getting together. And I've had multiple of my classmates come up to me and ask me, when's the next meeting happening? And like staff have also come up to me in my class and been like, you guys are doing such a good job. Like, it's really nice to see all the students getting together again and having these meetings, because we haven't been able to have them in the past year. And then I just wanted to tell all you guys, I just wanted to say at this time, I would like to say thank you. We are very appreciative of your support, not only from our advisors, but from the clubs and staff at the high school, our community, and you, the school board, for all that you provide to make things like this possible.
Thank you.
Any questions you guys have?
How many people are members out there on the FFA?
So anybody who's in an FFA class is automatically a member since we got that grant, because we don't require people to come in and pay that due that we used to have. So anybody who's in an FFA class is automatically a member. And even if you're not in an FFA class, you're still welcome to come to the meetings.
So, let me ask you, what do you think the biggest value FFA brings to you?
To me, it has really helped with public speaking.
You've done a great job.
Yeah, thank you. 3 years ago, I would not have been able to step up in front of any group of people and talk like I've been able to. Like, we had our parents' night the other night, and I talked in front of all of them, and it was perfectly fine. Like, I am a little nervous right now, but I'm able to talk in front of you. It's also helped me develop some leadership skills. Like, I'm on sports teams with the leadership that I have developed at FFA is just a different type of leadership than when you get from a sports team. And another thing that I really like to tell people is I've moved twice, and FFA has been the first club to come to me and be like, hey, come join, we're here, we want to teach you, we want you to come and hang out with us, come to our meetings, come have fun with us. Like, people think that's, oh, it's just farmers, but it's not. It's just a group of people, and we just want to have some fun and go and create these leadership development events that we go to, and go to the career development events, and just, it's just a really nice group of people.
I had a very similar experience to that too, where I just moved here 2 years ago. This is my second year, and the FFA was the first people that really like welcomed me in. They made me feel like a family, that I belong here, and I have learned a lot from them, from being part of it. I've learned definitely speaking skills. I could never have even tried like standing up here and speaking. Would not be any good at that. I wouldn't have no clue what to say. But that's really helped me grow in that direction. And then it's also helped me teach me about different animals and stuff, and different plants, and how our world kind of works apart from just us humans, which is kind of cool too, because normally people don't really focus on that stuff at schools and stuff, which I like.
Okay.
I just had a suggestion based on what you said, just off the top of my head, but can you add another F to it and just make it fun?
Fun future person.
3 Fs. Anyway, sorry, but I digress.
Well, I just want to say we are so proud of our FFA program, and you guys are just shining up there as leaders. And kudos for being so creative during COVID with the cocoa and the treats and getting people together. That's just, wow, that just blows me away. And then what type of career paths are you girls thinking of when you graduate?
I would like to be either a mechanical or an agricultural engineer. I got accepted into North Dakota State University, so I'll be going there next year. And I'm going to try to pursue agricultural engineering, creating cool new products to help our agriculture grow.
I am looking to go be a horse farrier. I am planning on going to school for that over this summer, and then I'm going to start an internship while because I'm a junior, so next year during senior year, I'm going to have an internship with my horse farrier, and that's what I want to do.
Congratulations, Bethany.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Excellent report.
Oh, sorry.
Madam
I apologize that I didn't make it to the last meeting, but I've been to many of them over last year in COVID, and actually, the very last event I went to before the shutdown was the FFA banquet, and it was written on our wall calendar, and it stayed up for about 7 months. It was the only thing that was up. And my daughter went with me, and she was really inspired by the ceremony of it and the camaraderie of it, and so she joined as one of your middle school members for at least some of last year. She was still deciding what path, but you absolutely inspired her to take one of the agriculture classes as one of her electives last year, so she was pretty impressed, and so am I, with how much you are growing and taking with you. And I think it's important that we still have an agriculture program and the FFA strong in Forest Lake, as we're only 20 minutes from a major metropolitan area, and we've got such a vibrant FFA group. So thank you for coming today and all you do all year.
was just gonna say, it's interesting, you wouldn't have even, like, when you first moved here, I mean, you would have no idea that this even existed, how it came to you, and it opened your mind and your eyes to a passion that you didn't even know that you had, so as far as a school district that we're able to offer that for students and give them, to open their eyes to new ideas and different avenues for growth. I mean, you guys are shining examples of that. I mean, if you're gonna do it for your future, that's impressive. So thank you for coming and telling us and sharing your ideas and all your hard work. That's amazing. And, I mean, so when Jill asked how many members do you have now, do you guys have an idea of the numbers at all, or just curious?
Our enrollment at the high school is around 600 students. So, and then there's more at the middle school. So it's really opened up a lot of doors for people. Historically, before the grant, when we had the fee that kind of inhibited people, we were probably closer to 70, 80 members. And so it's really allowed us to reach a lot more students.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, congratulations and best of luck in your future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alright, we'll move on. Columbus, student report, school report, Principal Phonics.
Good evening, Superintendent of Fort Secretary of Schools, Dr. Steve Massey, and our awesome distinguished school board members. I want to take just a few moments tonight to highlight some of the positive happenings in literacy and the team that kind of helps make that happen at one of your elementary schools, Columbus. With the addition of our academic support specialist and our literacy coach in our building, we are now able to push ourselves for looking at data, to be able to make informed decisions that directly impact student learning at our school. Those positions require specialized training such as letters, knowledge of current dyslexia legislation, and cognitive coaching. So the first picture is our picture of our academic support specialist at Columbus. It's Brittany Jakubiak. She couldn't be here tonight because of a family engagement. But I want to point out that this position is very flexible in our elementary schools. It's a data-driven decision-making position where Brittany, Heidi, and the classroom teacher work collaboratively to push student learning to meet or exceed grade level standards. You can see some of the many hats that Brittany wears in our school building. Without reading all those off to you, I would probably maybe highlight the third star there as far as utilizing our current target time in our school building, not only for intervention of students, but also for extending some of the learning beyond the standards for kids on the other end of the spectrum that need to be pushed even more or have a little bit more content given to them both in math and reading. Other responsibilities are also listed there too, of the work that Brittany does in the school building. Also at Columbus, we have the Minnesota Reading Corps, and so we have 2 Reading Corps tutors that provide that's provided through an annual grant that I write every summer based upon the needs at Columbus and based upon our demographics. They're pictured, in that picture is Casey Eck and Mackenzie Madsen that have been with me for the last 3 years, and those positions are good to up to 4 years. They provide daily one-on-one or paired interventions for students in grades K through 3 that are below benchmarks in reading according to our fall FAST data. Our team is very successful. They have a fidelity rate of 98.2%, and over 81% of the students are meeting or exceeding their goals. So the bullets that are on there are you can see the things that are getting done in reference to our Tier 2 literacy instruction in the school building. With me tonight is we have 4 literacy coaches in the school district, and Columbus has assigned a .5 literacy coach position. So Heidi Weberg is here tonight as a half-time employee at Columbus to tell you a little bit about the work that she does in collaboration with myself and in collaboration with Brittany Jakubiak.
So I am a literacy coach at both Scandia and Columbus Elementary. And while Brittany's role really lives in that tier two and tier 3 model and is student contact based, I'm really tier 1 focused, and I visit tier 2 with supporting them with interventions or extensions for students. And my role is really teacher based and teacher contact based. So educators and I work together to utilize data digs to determine where our students' needs lie and what core instructional needs we need to be doing in our classrooms. I also have the privilege of working across the district during professional development times and then as a district letters trainer. Right now we have 26, I believe, educators going through that are elementary educators, and then some of our special education middle school teachers who are going through training with us over the course of the school year. But really, as that last data point, that ongoing collaboration, that's the heart of my work with teachers, and that's what brings us here today as we look to interpret our formal and informal pieces of data to sharpen where we connect with students. So you guys are likely very familiar with our literacy framework that we rolled out this school year, and also with that second frame, which is small group instruction, and we began implementing strategies. But today we're really going to highlight that first piece of our framework, which is the phonics and phonemic awareness. And we're going to be talking about a diagnostic tool that we are successfully using at Columbus in grades 1 through 6, and how our growth and depth of knowledge with that tool has really helped us to make instructional changes, not only in core but also in all of the tiers of our instruction. So this is a tool called the Word Knowledge Inventory, and it's a spelling inventory with very specifically chosen words that represent a variety of spelling and phonics features. The inventory increases in difficulty as you go through, and it's used to inform teachers where to begin instruction with students in the areas of phonics and word study in the classroom. It has the look of a traditional spelling test, but through our training we know that all students and all brains learn to read from a speech to print. So really looking at this tool and using it to figure out how our students are hearing the sounds, then they read those sounds, and lastly they demonstrate mastery or ownership of those spelling and phonics features in their writing. And so this really shows us what they own in their heart. So here's an example of a second grade classroom scoring report from this fall. So supporting educators with this word knowledge inventory is really an important part of my work. When I receive the classroom teachers' inventories, we score them based on the spelling and phonics features, and then also the total number of words correct. It's then put into a spreadsheet for teachers so that they have digital access to this information. The spreadsheet shows the skills that should be mastered by the end of the year, and it is broken up by developmentally appropriate targets by grade level. So what would be appropriate for a first grader changes by the time the student reaches third grade. Then through coaching conversations, we analyze that data and we see what errors students are making, and if they're making them, not just what errors they're making, but this year we've been able to take it even deeper to see, is it a phonological error, so are they mishearing the sounds of the words, or are they just making an orthographical error by representing the sound correctly but with an incorrect spelling pattern. So we've really been able to dive into this tool pretty deeply this year, which is really exciting. Also this year, because of some new resources that we have in our buildings, we are able to tally up the class-wide errors so that we know in a classroom where the students are standing in the progression of their skills. So this helps teachers really understand how to focus their instruction and what features require no additional instruction, or which ones they need to spend more depth time with their students on. This also, we give this inventory 3 times a year so that a teacher is able to monitor the progress of their class and of individual students, and that helps us to adjust and to
Well, that's a lot of outstanding work that's going on in reference to literacy, and it's very specific and it's very data driven. And so I thought I would take the opportunity to talk a little bit about the school principal's effect on students and schools when it comes to being an instructional leader at a school building. And so building and supporting a culture of teaching and learning. And so our work is always about educators that know their students' performance across the skills and standards and the concepts that are being taught in all content area, with a real special emphasis at Columbus here this year because of the data in the area of literacy. Instructional decisions are evidence and based on data that come across my table and that we meet on monthly at Columbus. We have detailed plans that are in place to support or extend learning for all school children in our building. Myself being able to attend professional learning communities meetings, attending PLCs, making sure my teachers are specifically answering 4 questions on Robert Dufour's work when it talks about what PLC work looks like. In a PLC, we want all students to learn, be able to do. What if students have already learned it? What's our response to that? How do we respond when some kids don't learn it? And then how do we extend the learning for students who are already proficient? I think that piece is important for us as well too. PLC meeting dates and times, a master schedule, and so, I mean, there's one going on every morning in my school building for the most part, and if there's 2, then I split my time evenly between the 2 PLC meetings and making sure that this sort of work is getting done instructionally and not talking about other things that can be done kind of at a grade level meeting. Understanding the use of data to support educators too. Principals having a real deep knowledge about the FAST data, about the MCA data is very important. Supporting formative and summative assessments to assess all the learners. There are a couple other things I wanted to point out as well. And then the last 3 things is just what I'm really looking forward to, or I've been doing a lot of, is just routinely visiting the classrooms during core instructional times. And so this year I've created something called a literacy book course. That actually was the work started probably last year by Director of Teaching and Learning Diane Georgie and Director of Teaching and Learning this year J.P. Jacobson and Katie Lorenz and other people were a part of this work. But if we were to click on maybe just kindergarten to give them an idea, when I go in and visit the classrooms at Columbus in kindergarten, I'll walk in there with a binder in hand and just either paper or pencil or also have it electronically. And so the things that I'm looking for during literacy time in kindergarten in semester 1 are very specific. What's going on in reference to enhancing alphabet knowledge, what's going on about the independent structures that are going on in the classroom. Am I seeing the new Haggerty work that we've adopted? Am I seeing the new Jan Richardson approaches, reciprocal teaching, and writing? Am I seeing writing outside the 90-minute core block of literacy time? And also, too, we started to put questions in place, too, set up some questions that when I leave the room that I could maybe ask the teacher when he or she's on break, or maybe even some questions for the students that I can ask, too, as far as what their learning looks like in kindergarten with their instructional approaches. So we have all those, as Tim clicks back, I have all those tabbed from kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 5th grade, and 6th grade. So I'll just be out in the hallway and just kind of get my mind set here a little bit before I walk into a 5th grade room in reference to core reading, and here are the look-fors that I should see, because we're spending all this money and curriculum and PD time and stuff, and then we need to see the stuff in action. So that's done through walkthrough approach. That's done through conversations in the morning, done through PLC work, etc. So really excited about this tool that I've started to use this year. I'm still doing the paper pencil approach with it, but it is also electronically that you can do that as well too. So this has been a good tool to have in place. That's the last one.
why we're here to celebrate the Phonics and Phonemic awareness is that this year we've really grown dramatically in how we've used that word knowledge inventory. To a couple of years ago, we had a few teachers using it about one time a year just for that fall check-in. And last year, we had a few more buying in, maybe using it twice a year. But this year at Columbus, every teacher in grades 1 through 6 have used that word knowledge inventory, and they're committed to doing it 3 times a year. And then in kindergarten, we're gonna, that word knowledge inventory that actually is appropriate, so we're working with K to figure out what would be an appropriate tool for them to use starting in the winter. But it's really exciting that we have everybody using this tool and changing their instructional approaches based on the data that they're collecting specific to their classroom and specific to the children in their classrooms. Any questions for us?
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. Do you feel like the 0.5 is enough for a school? I mean, what are we thinking about? I mean, because you're partnering with teachers and thoughts?
So, I have a schedule that I set up in the beginning of the school year, and I haven't been able to follow it yet because I have so much outreach from both of my buildings. So I'm doing a lot of traveling between buildings, and it's been really busy. I definitely could be kept full-time at both buildings.
Yeah. So as a board, what do you think we should be thinking about as far as that kind of thinking, what we should be looking at?
I mean, it would be great to have a literacy coach at each building. And I think that there's enough work for us to do into beginning educators that we would be still probably overwhelmed with the amount of work that we have going on.
Thank you.
I was gonna bail Heidi out, that's an easy question.
Yeah.
But I would have answered it in the same way. I think full-time people, the continuity of the building, the student needs that become just ingrained because you're there every day. Some buildings are bigger than others, Wyoming's over 500, Neil's at almost 400. So proportional to student enrollment. Academic support, as Neil pointed out, is not quite full-time in all buildings, but almost. They're vital. We have math coaches as well. These are vital people that help the instructional support mechanism around the critical work of nursing. Absolutely vital.
So thank you for all you're doing. I constantly envy my kids' education. So one thing that kind of jumped out at me in the data-driven and the marking things down, I kind of want to reach back and I appreciate the culture of trust you must have in your building, because that's a lot of data that you're asking for, and you want pure data. You don't want people fudging numbers one way or the other to give you what you want, and it seems like you're getting valid data. So compliments on the culture that supports that not thinking they're being watched or micromanaged, but more like, let's use this data so we can grow and do this really well. And it's nice that you're in every classroom with like a purpose, and so you really know all the kids. And to the 0.5, I hope you do left, right, not top, bottom. But I think there is some value though in being in 2 buildings. I mean, there's a lot of driving, and I appreciate your dedication to the both buildings, but it's nice to know like what's going on in Scandia and what's going on in Columbus. So you're kind of one of the crisscross across the districts that you know all the faces and you know what's going on in 2 different places. So it gives a little extra net. So even if we had 1 per building or 2 per building, it would be great if there was still some crisscrossing so everybody knows what's going on in different places. And I'm sure you would if we get there. But yeah, thanks for the community for being able to build back this layer of support, because I did hear one of my favorite phrases that you're not just helping kids get to grade level, but seeing potential and expanding kids to the top of what they can do. And that just will pay off for the rest of their lives, either with stuff they learn or knowing that they were valued.
Well, thank you for that report, and Principal Fox, I think it is so stellar that a principal is in that grade granular detail of his literacy and his building and that, what's it called, look for list?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a great and valuable tool for everybody in the building that's teaching reading. So kudos. And then I'm really excited about letters. And so you're a letters trainer. Are you training our 26 or so you're training now?
Yep, so, Brina Krislak, Carla Whistler, and myself are the 3 volume 1 trainers. So there's 2 volumes to letters, and we're volume 1 trainers, so we have a current cohort going through right now.
So when will all of those be active? Like maybe next year and some this year, or is it faster than that?
So there's 4 units to the volume, so we're wrapping up, we're starting unit 2, and they'll be done in May through their full volume 1.
Incredible. I know that the evidence-based research and everything we do in that area is so important. When I listened to a webinar with Executive Director Kim Gibbons from the Steve will help you know. But anyway, her quote that she started out with kind of blew my mind. She said, if a student can't read, they ain't been taught. And I was like, wow, you know, it's very complex reading and all the differentiation that goes on. So thank you for a great report. I wish we had one in every building. So we'll work on that. So thank you. Excellent work.
Anyone else? All right, thank you both.
Thank you so much.
We will move on to positive happenings. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share? Member Kevin?
Well, I got a few things. Number one, unfortunately, the FFA has left the room, but I wanted to compliment them because they just put out their orders for Christmas for poinsettias, etc. And last year I ordered a poinsettia and it was one of the best ones we've ever had. So I did get a chance to order, and I actually got one of my kids to participate as well. So kudos to them for that, and they'll be picked up sometime in December. I also signed up to be a potential speaker for Career Day, Career Exploration Day at the high school on Thursday, November 18th from 8:39 to 9:23. I'm going to be presenting my old career, which was field marketing for food service. So I'll be presenting that on that day. And last but hardly least, I just want to recognize Bob Moorhead's wake and funeral. We had the chance, a number of us had a chance to attend. As you know, Karen was on the board for a long time and has been a valuable member of the community, and she's a really good friend, as was Bob of ours. So I had a chance to do that as well. And that concludes my report. Oh, I had one more thing, sorry. I forgot one of the best. It's a personal thing, but my son and my daughter-in-law, my son Kevin and daughter-in-law, are expecting their 2nd child and our 6th grandchild. It was actually due November 2nd, so if I can borrow a sports analogy, she has gone into overtime as of now. So we're waiting patiently. And that
Well, Gail and I and Robin attended the girls volleyball game last night at the high school. It was so much fun. They were such a great team, and they won they won their match, 3 games, and they continue on playing Saturday in Cambridge. The next step, I think it's section finals. Yeah, they were just. It was amazing. It's amazing how they are on the floor, just getting all those really. It was just impressive. I was tired after I watched them. I was tired. And I went to my first football game. They played Lakeville, so it wasn't a great game, but the field was phenomenal, and I went into the bathrooms and I thought, wow, this is great. So I have to say, after all that time, what a beautiful facility, and we're just so incredibly excited for our community to have it and enjoy this. And I cannot wait for the first track meet. That's what I'm excited for. So that's it.
Anyone else? Member Lee?
So I also have been attending volleyball, but on the community ed level, so a lot less. We cheer when they volley like 4 times, so we cheer for all kids. And I'm glad you're over there, Corey, because Kyle has put in, I'm not even positive how he is so many places at the same time, so he's been very impressive over this sports season. We went to the football game for the kids choir with the community day, and I'll take Gail because she was keynote there. But it was a beautiful facility, nice night. I think we even won. So football's, how's it doing now? I don't know. Or it's 2 games in a row and they were really good. But having the opportunity for the kids from all the different schools to sing the national anthem was really nice. Mrs. Sauer organized that. And then I've gone to a couple of drumline practices, and in going to drumline, I just realized how many things are at the high school in the evening. That place is like a beehive. There was one evening they were doing all the pictures for hockey, and I think the universe. There were so many hockey players there. So it's just, I think our buildings are being used from 6 a.m. to I don't even know when they close it. I mean, it's very impressive. And then finally, I did some Halloween activities around the community, including the Linwood Forest Walk. So having that resource that we could just use as a community, and the teachers were out, and it was a really nice, everybody, I saw so many different ages. They brought in an owl. But it was a great older kid activity for Halloween. So, and that concludes my report.
I just have something, I don't have much, but you mentioned drumline, and last weekend I went to see at the Turf Club Scalloween, where the 4 ska bands, and my son was in the headliner band playing drums, and unfortunately he didn't play till 11:30 to 12:30, so it was a little hard on me, but he learned how to play that trap set in drumline, learned how to understand music. It was just an incredible for both he and my daughter in drumline like that. So I just wanted to, it just made me think, and it's just a really positive happening to see how, something that starts small, a little activity in high school can turn into something like headlining Scalloween. Anyway, that's all.
Good. Member Corcoran and I went to the middle school and brought some treats and brought fruit, Jeff, fruit and breads. And anyway, we wanted to thank them for their awesome work on the redesign on top of all the work that they're already doing, and just to spend some time in their building. And we brought Jack a little thank you packet of cookies and said, you could share those with your mom to thank her for bringing you. And he said, nope, I'm keeping them. So it was fun. We got to visit with a couple of teachers and drop off treats, and that was very nice. Just to add on a little bit with community night, that was so much going on. It was Tackle Cancer Night. It was senior night. She mentioned all the 5th and 6th grade were just a bundle of energy, getting ready to sing. And I know that the gentleman from the Minnesota High School League spoke with Steve, but then after I said my little bit, he came over and said to me that this is the most impressive stadium that I have seen in the state. So he was just very complimentary and said that, all the planning and it just all came together so nice. Big compliment from him. I just wanted to mention, I'm probably stealing something from Steve's report, but Corey, our Director of Community Education, he received a pretty prestigious award, and it's going around on Facebook and Instagram with big congratulations, Corey. So kudos to you, Corey. That's just awesome to see. And there's also a building community meeting coming up, and that's next week, and I'm looking forward to going to that. The musical is going on at the high school, and Turkey Bingo is this week, so excited to see all these things going on. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Member Tyson. I had the opportunity, myself and Dr. Massey, went to the bus garage in the morning and recognized our bus drivers, which was great, thanking them for all the hard work they do. And we had a great time interacting with them. And then I also grilled for the middle school teachers. The PTA put on a dinner for the conferences, and I ran the grill, and we did burgers and brats, and it was a lot of fun interacting with all those folks. So then we will move on to the reports, workshops, and conferences. Anyone? Hearing none, we'll go to 9:16. Member Taylor.
The board meeting for 9/16 for Northeast Metro 9/16 was held last night on Wednesday, November 3rd. I unfortunately was unable to attend. However, I went through the agenda and looked at it. There was one action item on the agenda, which was approval of a contract with Java Enterprises for a 2,800 square foot warehouse to house miscellaneous items that they currently have in many different places, spread out all over. They currently pay $1,920 per month for all the spaces they utilize, and the new warehouse would cost about $1,560 plus CAM fees of $500 to $600, which is basically a budget neutral if you look at it that way. Other topics included delegates to the NSBA annual conference in San Diego and a federal fund report, as well as the Joint Powers Agreement, which is on our current agenda at 8.6 on action items. And that concludes Northeast Metro.
We'll move to buildings and grounds. Member Porter.
We've had a lot to talk about. We talked about the current construction projects, the preliminary property tax levy payable 2022, the arena construction project. That is quite a bit going on there. Talking about the bubble, putting hard sides on, redoing a lot of things at their arena, which is, needs to be done. It's such an amazing project that they took on as a school district. Talked about all the different roofing projects. It's amazing how the calendar just fills up with all the different projects for roofs. And then of course maintenance items, talk about the athletic fields, the CLC Learning Center, roofing, paving, and that's it. So it's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing. I was in the meeting as well, and in the meeting we discussed that there was a possibility we'd actually be moving into the CLC by Monday, October 25th. I don't know if we did, but did we move into the CLC? We did.
Yep.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
we still
that's great.
punch list items, and we're still working our way in there. We've got a lot of, we're in transition.
Cool.
But
Awesome.
Yeah, that was great.
That was great.
How's it going, Kelly? It's exciting.
We didn't mention it, but we also had two student representatives during the call, Jacqueline and Andrew, and both of them contributed very, very well. So shout out to those two students for their contributions to the committee. It was great. Really good.
Yeah, they really were excited to be on there, and when Andrew wanted to go look at the boilers, he was like all excited because he was interested in. I said, "What?" Because I don't know, it just sounds really interesting. So to have two students on there is really impressive, and we're excited that we're on there. So that's great.
We'll move on. City of Forest Lake. Member Tyson.
Yes, the Forest Lake City Council's upcoming meeting is November 8th. They have the EDA budget update on their agenda. The Met Council is offering rebates to customers to replace their irrigation. So it's Met Council along with the City of Forest Lake to replace your old irrigation systems. Because they have the watering ban, so they're coming up with that. Then there's also some grants available for native plant projects, and anybody can apply for those. That's through the Minnesota Board of Water and Soil Resources. And that concludes my report.
Communications Committee. Member Kettle.
The meeting was held virtually on Thursday, October 14th. 4 members attended the meeting. We did a welcome exercise and basically introduced ourselves again to everybody. The Forest Lake Area School website was the topic of discussion for the meeting, and there was a comment made that Elio is a platform that apparently is used for the community ed programs and seems to work very, very well for parents in the district. But Parent View, I'm not sure if it's a platform, but Parent View was brought up as well as a program where you pay fees for student fees. And apparently that was cumbersome and challenging versus Elio. So we had some discussion about the difference between the two programs. And one last item was actually a compliment to Dr. Massey for his communication, especially regarding the bus driver shortage and how it was viewed with detailed information and how it came out to the community, not only explaining the situation, but also explaining what parents should look for and be able to do in case we don't have a bus. So that was a compliment that was paid to Dr. Massey during the call. And that concludes my report.
Moving on to community education. Also, Member Kettle.
Meeting was again held virtually on October 25th. Nancy Seifert gave an update on our child care program. All schools have SAC. There's 515 contracts currently. 34 students are on a wait list, and the wait list is primarily just driven by the fact that we don't have enough right now yet, but we continue to work on it and try to find more teachers and or room in classrooms for the additional people on the wait list. Summer program was eased back into field trips during COVID. The the field trips had been canceled. But post-COVID, the first field trip that was taken was actually a swimming field trip, and it went very, very well. We lost 2 site managers and promoted 1 from within, so we're still a little bit short on site managers. The program is applying for grants to provide additional funding because we have lower enrollment in some of our programs, but the costs primarily remain the same as ever. Nancy thanked profusely, really, the schools for all of their support, and especially the admin of the schools and how they support the programs that are going on. Thursday, November 11th, is National Community Ed Day. The Community Ed department is planning a celebration for that day. I won't go into any more detail, but it sounds like it could be a wild time, right, Corey? And ACT testing was taken over by Community Ed, and that went very well, even though it's taken over. It was very smooth and very well. And we talked about a successful middle school soccer season. Shout out to Kyle Young, who runs that program. The program is definitely heading in the right direction. And then, of course, the marching band was brought up, and we talked about how they ended up playing at the Saints game again. We've said that a few times, but it was just a great deal for everybody. And last but hardly least, financials are getting back into the black, and they're bouncing back from COVID, so that's a good thing. The finances are looking okay. And, of course, as Member Tyson said, we have to recognize Corey for the great award that he just won. So, Corey, congrats. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Member Kettle. We'll move to curriculum instruction and equity. Member Luther.
Thank you. There was 14 people there. We met virtually. A few of them were actually new additions to the group, so it was nice to see some new faces. We talked about the science standards that have not changed since 2000. The last change was 2019. We spent almost the entire time talking through examples and how this is a really good method. The biggest thing is that I wrote down is that it's relatable and it's using things in the kids' own worlds and driving questions, and then having those questions be scientific constructs. So leading them down well, what about this puddle, or what about this ice, or what about this, and have them, instead of say, this is the concept of evaporation, it's more like, well, what do we see out there? What do you think's happening? And so having different links connected in their world that they can use science and see how it just is around them. So that's a shift that's happening, and we also went over what else is happening in the month, the anti-bullying and school safety. So it's a very informative group that I'm sure we'll end up having a more detailed presentation of in the future. And that concludes the report.
Equity in our schools. Member Rayfield.
Yeah, thank you. I think our dedication to equity means that not only do we have programs that make kids feel like they have a home in Forest Lake schools, but that also they have the access to those programs. They have the ability to get to them, and the resources we provide, they can actually use them. And so the report tonight is that with the assistance of the district's transportation department, today marks the first night of activity bus routes. Activity buses will run on Thursday evenings, providing students with the opportunity to seek additional support from teachers, participate in one of several student equity or affinity related groups. Club advisors on behalf of many of the student members advocated for the opportunity to provide routes for students interested in participating in need of transportation to do so. This year there are 10 student equity affinity related groups spread amongst the community schools, middle school, and high school. The groups range from the longest running group, the Hmong and Asian Culture Club, to a brand new BIPOC minority and students of color leaders group at the middle school. Affinity and equity groups help support Objective 3.2 from the 2020 strategic plan. Identify and develop consistent and regular activities to make all students feel welcome at all grade levels. Groups and advisors are supported through the Forest Lake Area Schools Achievement and Integration Plan and Budget. So that's all good news.
Thank you, Member Rayfield. Finance Committee. Member Corcoran.
We reviewed the property tax levy payable 2022, and we looked at the fiscal year 21 audit status. They're all complete as of the end of October, so we should be hearing from Larry. The finance presentation should be either November 18th or December 16th. come to the full board approval either December or January with the audit status. Talked about the budget, the enrollment again of 76 students and budgeted for 100 student loss. Of course, we do have that budget adjustment on our agenda tonight. And also we talked about the Esr Funds, and just to elaborate a little bit, those Esr Funds are so important to our district, and they are used for teaching, for staff, custodian, cleaning, supplies, technology, and learning recovery activities, which we know is very necessary due to all the issues with COVID and learning loss. We also are to be talking about the school bus purchasing, that's also on our agenda tonight. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Member Corcoran. We'll move to Policy Committee, Member Luther.
Thank you. So the policy committee also met virtually. I did not write down how many people there were, but 12 or 13. We end up having more people online than we do in person. We went through the policies that are in the first reading tonight, later in the packet. And so the one that had the most discussion was the IT policy, where the district has to walk a very fine line between inside the school activity and outside of school activity. And there's quite a few legal cases that are exploring where a school needs to step in and where a school is not allowed to step in. So we had some discussions on that point. Our policy is still taking a lot of model language, and most of what is expressed to the students is done by faculty and staff and expectations, and is not just written in black and white, because our policy needs to last longer than just the newest craze and whatever app might be popular this year. So we're not super specific in the policy. The other thing that was in the discussion status is the addition of a student member named to be decided at some point, person who would be with the board. Seeing the FFA and the variety of student leaders that have already spoken with us through other reports, there's definitely interest in leadership at the high school level. So working through this to try and get a really good policy to present sometime in the near future. So that concludes the policy report.
Staff welfare, we discussed the Phonics program, some upcoming housing developments and the impact that would have on us as a district, and then also a process for several position replacements that we have folks retiring for this year. We'll move on to the superintendent's report, Dr. Massey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to add my voice to the appreciation for our student presentation tonight. I think it's really good for the board to get that inside kind of day-to-day ground floor perspective from students and all the amazing things that are going on with students. As you know, our FFA program led by some incredible staff, the award-winning program, a real hallmark feature for the district. So we'll continue bringing student reports to the board and letting you ask questions of them and to get that perspective. The presentation from Principal Neil Phonics and Heidi Weiber is just an incredible insight into the work around literacy. Learning how to read is a scientific, evidence-based process. Kids don't learn to read on their own, and we need to be very systematic in how we do that. So you've seen the report tonight, you've seen other reports around the literacy program. When questioned around where is the district commitment to rigor, you can see it in full evidence here tonight. There are extremely high standards for our kids at all levels. We want to bring the struggling kids along, meet kids where they're at, and push those kids who are already good readers to even high levels. Principal Neil Phonics and his leadership is phenomenal, and you'll see that in every one of our elementary schools in terms of the incredible work around our leadership. So hats off to them. And the Region 6 Minnesota Community Education Award winner for the third time tonight is Corey McKinney. And we're super proud of that. And I know some of you were going to give him a round of applause. I think we should do that. Corey's the award is extremely well deserved for many reasons, but not the least of which is leading our community ed program through a pandemic. We didn't shut down and wait for things to get better. We elevated expectations of the program, and really were kind of a lifeline to some things just continue along. And that was just a bold leadership, moved by Corey and his team, so extremely well deserved, and we're super proud to celebrate that along with Corey. Let's talk COVID for just a little bit. I think we'd be remiss after a year and a half to skip our wonderful topic of COVID. We had 14 cases last week in the secondary, 15 cases at the elementary. COVID hasn't gone away. You might argue or consider that cases could be far worse. I would agree. But any case is a concern. Our illness rates at the elementary have settled down some. We know that we had an elevation of cases at Columbus last week. Cases are settling down. Illness rates are settling down there. We expect that kids will be back to masks recommended next week at Columbus. We're masking this week due to elevated illness rates. State COVID cases, if you track that, are continuing to remain relatively high. And the test positivity rate has gone up in the last week, so we're still in it. And we're waiting for that downward trend to take hold and to really work its way to a lower level. We think that's going to happen, but we're still at a higher level. So we're still locked into our mitigation strategies and whatever we can consider. You also saw vaccination approval for 5 to 11-year-olds. We'll work with the state and county to provide vaccination opportunities by way of school sites, not in our schools, not a school program, but using our school sites. Our staff know that we are not in a position to push, promote, or encourage kids to get vaccinated. We'll provide that opportunity and let families make choices regarding the vaccination. But vaccines are available for our younger kids, and that could be a positive component to getting us to a much better place as a district. We are weathering, and I think coming through our bus driver shortage. Your communication that Member Kettle referenced around be ready for bus driver cancellation. We haven't had to do that. Thank goodness. And we're not out of the woods, but through that letter and other efforts by John Gray and staff, we've had more bus drivers step up and that are in training, and will be added to the force as we move forward. I know we have a bus driver here tonight. Thank you for your leadership there and support. We don't have school without our bus drivers. We all know that. So we're enormously grateful for their commitment. We have a sub shortage in our district. We've communicated this week around that. I don't know how we've done it, but we've kept our buildings open with up to 5 filled classrooms on any given day. We fill it with literacy coaches, academic support people, media people, music teachers, ed teachers, which means teachers don't get their credit. And kids aren't getting those experiences because the teachers are covering classes. But the good news is we stay open. It's extremely challenging for the system to make the system work at that level of absence. We need more subs. We plead to the community, if you want a sub, please come and talk to us. We'll work with you to get signed up to be a sub for us. The sub issue is related to staff illness, and when you have 5 unfilled sub positions, teaching positions, that's a risk in the system. Big credit goes to our staff for stepping up and making things work. We have not closed the school for a day yet, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that we don't have to do that. Kids, as we all know, belong in the classroom and in our schools. We've made it work, and our teaching staff deserve 10 credit. If you haven't seen Susical, our musical, Friday night at 7, Saturday night at 7, Sunday at 2 p.m., it's a kid-friendly program. Let's pack the house and get there and see the show. Our student performers deserve that. It's a great show. And lastly, I wasn't going to share this, but my passport finally came through, so I would share with you that I'm just honored to have been selected to join the state education is one of the components of that trade mission, along with agriculture, medical, and environmental. So I will be learning with other educators and sharing the incredible things that happen in our school system. Jim Caldwell and I are stockpiling the career tester wheel documents as just a real trademark for what we can share with people around the world around what we're doing at our high school and through our education system. So it's a real honor to be part of that trade mission. And that concludes me.
Thank you, Dr. Massey. We'll move on to, does anybody have any questions for Dr. Massey? I guess let's skip that part. Thank you. We'll move on to the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve 7-1 through 7-4.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of approving tonight's consent agenda signify by aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll move on to action items. 8-1. Staff retirement notice. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have some discussion. I would just like to thank our mechanic, CJ, for his 23 years of service. I know when I started on the board, I toured the bus garage and the area where the mechanics work, and it was not pretty. It was very appalling, and I think we've been blessed to have our community bond passed, and now that area is much more functional and it's better suited and heated and all that. So I just appreciate that. He stayed through thick and thin, and it says a lot for our district. We have great culture, great leadership, good pay, good benefits. So CJ, enjoy your retirement. Much deserved. Thank you.
Thank you. I see we also have a bus driver retiring, and
Yes.
we'll miss Charles Nelson as well, especially with how tight they are. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll move on to A2, the donations. Member Kettle.
This month we had, the district had a total of $29,274.21 in total donations. $7,678.75 was provided by the Fast Break Club Girls Basketball Boosters for 2 assistant coaches. $6,178.79 was provided by the Red Line Club, again for payment for an assistant coach. Another $6,178.79 was paid by the Full Court Club for a payment for 1 assistant coach for boys basketball. $5,852.85 was paid by the Forest Lake Dance Booster Club for payment for 3.4 assistant coaches. $1,185.03 was paid by the Scandia Marine Lions Club to provide Scandia 3rd graders with a new dictionary for a Word of the Day program. $1,000 was donated by TEFLA in support of the 21-22 Staff Back to School program. $200 was provided by the Hugo American Legion Post 620 for Forest Lake FFA Chapter Student Organization account. $100 was donated by Elam Lutheran Church for 5 bags of groceries estimated at $100. And $900 was provided by NCSRCC for 3 laptop computers valued again at $900, giving us the total of $29,274.21. The district would like to thank all of those organizations and individuals who contributed all of that, and I would like to make a motion that we accept with appreciation the following contributions and permit their use as designated by the donors.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion.
That's just amazing.
I think Templa's really committed to that back to school program, and we're so fortunate for that.
I'm just so glad we don't have to do it all alone. And really the whole community support.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting the motion signify by aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. 8-3, mandated reporting of maltreatment of vulnerable adults, policy 414. Dr. Massey.
The purpose of this policy is to make clear the statutory requirements of school personnel to report suspected maltreatment of vulnerable policy committee has reviewed this policy and is recommending no changes at this time. And with that, administration recommends approval.
Do we have a motion to accept A3?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, Member Clerk, would you please take a roll call?
Member Kettle.
Aye.
Member Kettle votes aye. Member Olson.
Aye.
Member Rayfield.
Aye.
Member Tyson.
Aye.
Member Peterson.
Aye.
Member Luther votes aye. Member Corcoran.
Aye.
Mullins.
Motion passes. We'll move to A4, Family and Medical Leave Policy 428. Dr. Massey.
The purpose of this policy is to provide for family and medical leave to school district employees in accordance with the Family and Medical Leave Act of 1993, and also with parenting leave under state law. This policy needs to be reviewed at least annually for compliance with state federal law. The school board policy committee has reviewed this policy and is recommending no changes at this time. And with that, administration recommends approval.
We have a motion to approve A5.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion? Hearing none, Member Clerk, would you please take roll call?
Member Olson.
Aye.
Member Rayfield.
Aye.
Member Tyson.
Aye.
Member Peterson.
Aye.
Member Luther votes aye. Member Corcoran.
Aye.
And Member Kettle.
Aye.
Mullins.
We'll move to A6, the Election Cost Sharing Joint Powers Agreement. Dr. Massey?
I believe you skipped.
Oh, did I miss one? Oh, I apologize, we'll move back to A5, the mandated reporting of child neglect and physical or sexual abuse policy 522.
Mr. Chair, the purpose of this policy is to make clear the statutory requirements of school personnel to report suspected child neglect or physical or sexual abuse. Again, the policy committee has reviewed this policy and is recommending no changes at this time. And administration recommends approval.
Do we have a motion for A5?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Member Tyson?
I'd just like to add that, even though they presented to us no changes, doesn't mean that they don't go over it with a fine tooth comb in the policy committee. And I feel like our district has always had a really strong policy in this area, which I'm very proud of. And our HR director, Donna, always sends this out in the fall when school starts because it's a reminder to everyone that we're all required to be community reporters.
Thank you, Member Tyson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Member Clerk, please state roll call.
Member Rayfield.
Aye.
Member Tyson.
Aye.
Member Peterson.
Aye.
Member Luther votes aye. Member Corcoran.
Aye.
Member Kettle.
Aye.
And Member Olson.
Aye.
Mullins.
Motion passes. Now we can move to A6, the Election Cost Sharing Joint Powers Agreement. Dr. Massey?
This is a somewhat routine item for the board as it relates to sharing election costs with Anoka County. And as per this agreement, Anoka County has updated the dates throughout the agreement. They've removed the dissolved hospital district from the agreement. They've updated the language for calculating population percentages, and they are now going to allocate a portion of the postage costs for absentee ballots to cities and school districts. Administration recommends approval of this collaborative effort and is comfortable with the minimal cost increase to the district under this agreement. With that, administration recommends approval.
Move to approve A6.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Member Tyson?
So, superintendent, you just said that it's a minimal cost, adding the postage for that, so what would that be, or do we have?
I don't have the actual cost, but I will tell you that,
And it's only 30%,
that's right,
right?
our cost share is 30%.
Because we're having
The
small.
cities and other municipalities covering the other 70%.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would just like to say, how this has really worked out great by partnering with the counties on these elections. It's made a world of difference for how just it being very consistently run and getting us out of the business to a great deal of kind of managing those elections, which we used to do. So I'm always excited when I see one of these agreements because it's just a great deal for us.
Yeah, cost sharing is one thing, putting the people power in the running election is another.
Yeah.
Good point.
Aye. Member Peterson.
Aye.
Member Luther votes aye. Member Corcoran.
Aye.
Member Kettle.
Aye.
Member Olson.
Aye.
And Member Raker.
Aye.
All ayes.
All ayes. All right, moving on, 8.7, general fund budget adjustment, Director Martini.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, members of the board. As Member Corcoran mentioned, we discussed this item in the Finance Committee, and each month that committee reviews the expenditure and revenue patterns. We are pleased to report a large revenue increase in the state aid category, and it is a direct result of 170 student swing. We were conservative in other areas of the revenue budget, so we asked you for the first budget adjustment of the year to accept the revenue adjustment as well as the expenditure adjustment because we have more staff come on board to educate those students. We asked for your approval here. We'll be back probably in the spring with additional budget adjustments as time elapses, but this is a neutral budget adjustment. We anticipate an ending fund balance just under $3 million when the year closes out next year.
Thank you, Director Martini. Do we have a motion to approve 8.7?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion. Member Raker.
I don't remember last time this has happened. It's really a good feeling to see students coming into our district, and good for them. You're going to get a great education.
Absolutely.
Well said. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Member Clerk, please take roll call.
Member Peterson.
Aye.
Member Luther votes aye. Member Corcoran. Aye. Member Kettle.
Aye.
Member Olson.
Aye.
Member Rayfield.
Aye.
Member Tyson. Aye. All ayes.
Motion passes. Move on to 8.8, school bus purchasing and leasing, Director Martini.
Thank you. This will probably bring true to some headlines as we talk through this item. Normally, we bring school bus leasing to you in the late spring, but because of lead times, because of shipping delays, issues with vehicles, we are bringing this to you now so that we are ensured that next July we'll be able to take delivery of the new leased buses. We are also asking for the purchase of 15 of those buses that came off lease. A year ago, we didn't purchase the buses. We have the full capability to examine the buses that are on lease for 2 years. And the mechanics and Mr. Gray said, let's not purchase any of those. But at this time, they're recommending that we do that. And they're excited for these vehicles because they know they're good quality. So we would ask you to approve this as well. It is normally done almost 6 months later, but because of supply chain issues, we're going to do this evening.
Do we have a motion to approve 8.8?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion and second, discussion. I would like to say I absolutely love the process that we use for purchasing our buses, leasing them first so that we weed out those years when there's maybe some manufacturer defects and we're not stuck fixing them 5 years from now. And I think it's worked very well. We've got a great fleet, and this year it's also paid off dividends when other schools struggled with busing. Owning our own busing and operating our own busing has definitely ensured that we get our students to school, so.
Well said. Very well said.
More affordably as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we're more in control of what the fees are. When you outsource, you don't have control.
And largely driven by our community,
Right.
which I think is important.
Right, and I think this contract with Holden has been really beneficial and it's been really worked well for everyone.
Kim just had a lot newer buses than the old days.
Yeah.
How old those buses were later.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I'll comment on that. When I arrived 20 years
You're
ago,
coming.
the average, the longest term bus that we had in the fleet was just over 15 years. And we are way under 10 years at this time.
Well, it started with a good plan and it's been a good plan every year since.
Just one question. I'm sorry. You go ahead. Do they all have trailer hitches?
No, we typically have 3 per lease season, so I think there's 6 of the 77 passenger buses in our fleet today with trailer hitches.
Okay.
In the detail,
Yeah.
you'll note that. The cover page is fairly generic.
And I just wanted to thank Director Martini for the forethought in getting your order in. That was very smart.
Thank Hoagland Bus for that. I'd love to take credit, but thank you.
Great. Any further discussion? Member Clerk, do.
Yeah, we did.
All right, Member Clerk, just please say roll call. Thank you.
Member Luther votes aye. Member Corcoran. Aye. Member Kettle.
Aye.
Member Olson.
Aye.
Member Rayfield.
Aye.
Member Tyson.
Aye.
And Member Peterson.
Aye.
All ayes.
Moving on to 8-9, employment terms and conditions for staff members employed under the district's general employment and benefits plan.
Administration tonight is asking your approval of the general benefits employment plan for the 30 employees that are listed there. Some of those are groups of employees, some are individuals. Each of them have their own individual terms and often are similar to others and may vary slightly. The general overall terms include the following updates and changes that are all within the school board parameters set in the next one. The first you'll find on page 5, which speaks to some modifications to employee sick leave and notification of sick leave and length of sick leave. You'll see that on page 5. You'll see also additional language around sick leave related to maternity on page 6. You'll see the consistent $250 annual district contribution to 403B on pages 10 and 11. And you'll see a 2% in the first year and 2% in the second year wage adjustment for each of these employees on pages 14 and 15. With that, administration recommends
Do we have a motion to approve 8-9?
So moved. Second.
Motion and second, discussion? Member Tyson?
Well, I think, looking over all of these, you've made excellent progress in bringing those up, so I'm really proud of that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Member Clerk, would you please take roll call?
Member Corcoran. Aye. Member Kettle.
Aye.
Member Olson.
Aye.
Member Rayfield.
Aye.
Member Tyson.
Aye.
Member Peterson.
Aye.
And Member Luther votes aye.
We'll move on to new business. 9-1, the first reading, Title IX, Sex Non-Discrimination Policy, Grievance Procedure and Process Policy 510. Dr. Massey.
The school district, as stated in this policy, does not discriminate on the basis of sex in its education programs or activities, and it is required by Title IX of the Education Amendment Act of 1972 and its implementing regulations not to discriminate in such a manner. The requirement not to discriminate in its education program or activity extends to administration and employment. The school district is committed to maintaining an education and work environment that is free from discrimination based on sex, including sexual harassment. Policy committee, as Member Tyson has indicated, and Member Luther sits on the policy committee, can attest that a lot of time are spent on this policy, and they are moving this policy forward for your approval at the next meeting with no changes.
Dr. Massey, we'll move on to 9-2, the first reading, Equal Education, No Opportunity Policy 535.
Purpose of this policy is to ensure that equal education opportunity is provided for all students in the school district. School board policy committee again has reviewed this policy and then presented it to the school board with a couple of noted changes per guide from Minnesota School Boards Association. You'll see the inclusion of students on faculty section 504 plans on the second page of the policy. And referencing updates to Title IX and Item D on the second page, and then a language update on the second and the final page of the policy. Again, no action required.
Dr. Massey, we'll move on first to 9-3, the first reading, Technology Acceptable Use and Safety Policy 540.
So this policy is to set forth policies and guidelines for
access to school district computer system and acceptable and safe use of the internet, including electronic communication. The school board has reviewed this policy and are recommending a couple of changes to the policy. On the second page, you'll see the modification of the language, the expansion of language from just reference email to district systems as it relates to this policy. Spells, and on the third page, item B spells out district regulation of off-campus speech. Member Gutner spoke to this in her committee update, so we took a look at some of the updated language there. We're trying to bring clarity here to the district jurisdiction, if you will, around enforcement and intervention around inappropriate use of technology that might occur off campus, with or without district. On page 5, there's language there being added around filtering technology and language around districts committed to educating students on appropriate use. Again, no action required tonight, and we'll ask for approval.
Alright, we'll move on to 9.4, the first reading, intermediate district 916 joint powers agreement.
4 secondary schools, along with 13 other school districts, are members of the intermediate district 916. And this year they face a situation where a member district decided to leave the collaboration. And the joint powers agreement was not specific enough about the liability of the exiting district. So they had to address the financial liabilities and capital expense liabilities to the when the district left the collaboration. And it was a tricky process, not having things go out. So a lot of time was spent with legal advice and legal consultation to update the joint powers agreement to be more explicit in the liability an exiting district would have should they decide to leave the 916 district. There is no intention of leaving the district, but they're asking all member districts to approve this updated joint powers agreement. No action tonight, I would ask that you can reach out to Director Lessman or myself if you have any questions.
Dr. Massey, seeing item number 10, review your upcoming calendar dates. I look forward to hopefully making the program this weekend. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So,
Second?
A motion and a second. All those in favor of adjournment signify by aye.
Aye.